Alright, greetings everybody and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be taking a look at a team that I have built in terms of arena and capabilities. And what else is there to say? Yes, there's a bunch of stuff I want to cover this weekend. I've noticed that there's a lot of requests from people like saying, hey, you should continue that global account. Don't have time for it. I'll do what I can with it, but I'm hoping that somebody out there will want to take it off my hands and give it a good home, because it is a pretty good role for anybody who's looking to start. So if you know anyone who's starting, let me know. As for the Ashenmont trial, I am aware of that. I am doing some research. I will get back to you on that in a different video. There's the Raryu treasure hunt, which I also want to do, but I'm not quite ready to do that just yet, so hang on for that. And of course, team building this weekend will be a hot topic, as there is a lot to talk about this weekend. But for today's video, I want to show off the potential of the newest units for people who are out there who are wondering about the newest big three. And yeah, I would include Cloud as maybe the big four, but definitely not in the big three. The three most major units right now are the three that you're seeing on the screen. And we're going to show them off and talk about what they look like in this party. So this party is not synergistic at all. There's a single job VC out there that supports these three together, but as it turns out, with a couple of just tier 1 VCs and some generalized VCs, this party is actually really strong. I hope to show that today. So first off, we have June, who globalers I'm sure are absolutely familiar with. There's probably even a fair number of high tier players out there on global who ever max reincarnated already. Now mine is only reincarnated about 30 to 40 times, just because this is the one unit I think you don't need to rush, because you can get her hard daily quests, you can barracks her, and you can also get dupes of her because she is a permanent pool unit, which you don't need to rush her down or spend any of your hard-earned UR orbs. Those are much better spent other places on limited characters. So anyway, there you go. That's what Doom looks like. I'll also show the resistances because people are sometimes interested in that. So just showing that in this general party. Next up, Ashenmont. Now this, I'm pretty impressed or proud of, just because I fully reincarnated him. I have not ever fully reincarnated a character since the reincarnation system began. I think this is the one that actually got me to cash in a bunch of my reserves to just blast this guy right up. And to be fair, semi-limited, it's not incredibly important, but I did want to finally have a very modern character and get up to full reincarnation. So this is what a full reincarnated monk looks like with these VCs and this equipment and these resistances. There you go. Of course, there is one other piece of equipment, but for now I've kind of gone with this because I'm generally happy with it. And last but not least, Sephiroth, who I only ended up getting this week, but again, pulled in a bunch of favors, and here he is, fully reincarnated Sephiroth. And you can see June does have like more speed, but she essentially has 2 speed VCs on her. So that is where that is coming from. Excuse me as I cough. But yeah, you can see the stats aren't really anything too impressive if you look at like how synergistic other teams can be, in greatsword teams hitting around 6k power. But this team is very, very strong, he said right before showing it off, and eventually a bunch. So yeah, which team do we want to go again? This. I didn't really look at this ahead of time. Of course, sometimes you just soft one to start. But yeah, when it comes to these 3 characters, I kind of wanted to just show off what their reincarnated versions were like. It might be a decision point for some people as to which one you want to go with and max reincarnate. Sephiroth doesn't look incredibly impressive in terms of stats compared to like June, it feels like, 4 in terms of Ash and Mont, since both of them just represent higher stats most of the time. But Sephiroth does seem like he is a character who can fit really well into multiple different parties. If there's even a tiny bit of job synergy, and a lot of that is just because of his limit burst. His limit burst of laying down a curse is very strong. It cancels not only healing, but it actually does, in fact, cancel re-raise. I've seen some people wondering, does it cancel re-raise? And it does. The status effect persists, and essentially, like arise, raise, and re-raise are all canceled out by it because they are all healing effects. Now, for people who are also curious, Isunaga, and a couple other abilities can actually cure it, but there is no good healing slash support unit that can actually do that in a reasonable time frame and provide enough support. Like healers just haven't had an update in a really long time, and maybe that is something that is essentially coming up very quick, but for now it doesn't feel like that. And if you're wondering, well, Umbra, if you think this party's so strong, why didn't you go for like the most difficult team? Look, it's still a week that has 7 days in it. I want to actually do well in terms of my arena ranking week. I do want points before the week, but other than that. And here comes the limit burst. It is just really, really accurate at getting the curse status effect. As you can see, Howlet, a character who really prides himself on being able to heal up a lot, is completely shut down by it. And this is the thing. I'm not particularly interested in fighting like the strongest. To do that in Wodev, you still kind of need to be a pretty big spender. That's just not me. But to show just the difference of how much you can kind of capitalize, depending on whether if you are willing to throw in a bunch of and then have this kind of moment where you can essentially be stronger. There's so much to talk about in team building this week about where characters are fitting in and whose partnerships seem to be generally stronger. The one thing I will give a little bit of a hint about, that it's not all doom and gloom out there. A lot of people have been like, well, these units completely invalidate all the older units. And that's actually not true, because as it turns out, Spear, and particularly multi-elemental Spear, is looking maybe like the best kind of pushback for people who are not wanting to invest super hard. So that is kind of a good sign that the meta is not completely as dominated. And we'll do the odd one in, odd one out, do a couple of fast ones, just because I don't want this video going to 20 minutes. I still have plenty of other videos. But yeah, every once in a while, you do have a ton of resources, and you're maybe thinking, getting Ashen Mont or getting Sephiroth. It's a decent enough time to just chuck a bunch of resources behind these characters. In terms of the UR generic orbs, because I still think that it's quite telling how strong these characters are, even after 1 month. Like FFBE characters and Wodev characters traditionally end up being stronger than collaboration characters. Not always, but there is a trend of it. With the decrease in the amount of, how do I say this? The decrease in the amount of like seasonal characters, with Halloween characters and Christmas characters disappearing. I don't expect beach characters to disappear, but I'm not expecting too terribly much from them. It doesn't seem like they're kind of really going. Beach characters never really push that much. They're essentially, they get sales, but they don't really change the meta that often. Voted upon characters seem to be a good bet, though. Mostly. Oberyn also. Casting 100 million abilities. Looks like we're in good position to do a break here. Get rid of that haste. And take a little bit of pain, not too much. And Sephiroth just going to cancel out one of the best in here for healing abilities. And one of the major targets, another thing that needs to be talked about is that AI right now cannot tell at all if a unit has curse on it. I don't think that's unintentional either. Get used to seeing that limit burst if you have animations on. You're gonna see it a lot. So yeah, re-raise it right there. There's a perfect example of how it is just essentially completely canceled out. This is one other ability that I am running on my Sephiroth, which is the soldier attack power up one, just to potentially give a little bit more offensive capability. Taking some damage, but nothing scary. Skip the animation, because sometimes it can make a crash. Going a little bit surprising, but both of those, this is a fire and water type area map up, so they're getting a bit of a benefit. And we'll do this one just for a little bit more challenge. But yeah, there's a ton of videos that need to be made and could go on and on. I mean, as the week goes on, a lot more teams have been showing up. This one was one that I figured would be fairly successful. So far it seems to be. But with a lot more people feeling like they're picking up Sephiroth, at least on JP, it does feel like we're going to get more examples, much in the same way as Cloud. Peachin seems to be also pumping out a couple more videos about Sephiroth teams that are quite different. Sephiroth is even featured with mage teams, with spear teams, with just a bunch of different, basically kind of just anything that fits, because as it turns out, with so many teams being dependent on healing capability, when your healing abilities are just completely wiped out, you'll lose quite a bit. And this is also, I think, a interesting test, just because you get this is a good example of why support teams are generally still really, really good. Skip. course, everyone's favorite limit burst. But the advantages of like pure elemental teams are something that I think people are interested in. And here we go, limit burst. Interesting that his AI does prioritize a few others, but if it leads to a win, I don't see a particularly big problem. Since so many monts are also come just equipped with the blood sword, it's generally good early on in the fight, later on in the fight. And yeah, you can see just how fast we are, that we can put up with a team with haste. Yeah, it's generally pretty powerful, but as you would expect from a bunch of fully reincarnated characters, showing off just the generational difference in stats that a lot of characters have a hard time matching. And yeah, you can throw any of these characters into other teams, get more offensive stuff, but this team so far is proving that newer units are just generally better. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Take care. See you next time. Yeah, not 5th arena in this. This video is long enough already.